how you use the power of social media and your expertise to transform the experience of your consumers and create new ideas.
It's really all about being like a challenger brand and partnering with other partners that can amplify our voice.
Sometimes the influencer can be seen as a very transactional. The challenge of the industry is find the right influencer that fit your brand, right? That share the same values and the same purpose, and how to build your personality for a brand on your perspectives.
Ryanair did not have a personality until like 6 months ago. And now suddenly, they have built a personality, and nowadays people are like, this is the best account on social media.
The beauty of TikTok is that, right? Because you can be a huge TikToker regardless of the numbers of followers that you have. Hi everyone, this is Mara Genovese, founder and CMO of MD Empower Global Influencer Market Agency, and this is our Influencer Marketing Uncover podcast. Today, as always, I'm here with my lovely Alex Velev, campaign manager at MD Empower, and together we are bringing to you another incredible episode today that's going to be joined by the lovely and talented Sonia Gonzalez, marketing manager at Burton's Biscuit Company in the UK and an incredible TikTok marketing educator. With over 5 years of experience in the FMCG industry, Sonia has helped major brands optimize their digital plans and long-term social media strategies. In today's episode, we'll be exploring together how FMCG brands can better optimize their digital presence and social media strategies. And of course, we'll be talking about her channel on TikTok. Hi Alex, how are you?
Hi Myron, everybody. I'm great. I'm so excited to be co-hosting today's episode. First of all, Sonia, thank you so much for joining us. I would like to kick this podcast off by giving you a few minutes to introduce yourself to the audience and explain a bit more about your professional experience.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I have to say thank you so much for getting me onto this podcast. I've been listening to a couple of your episodes, super interesting. You've had some amazing guests on, so I feel really honored to be here. Just a little bit of my background. So I am specializing in FMCG, so fast-moving consumer goods, specifically food and drink. So that's where I started my career about 7-8 years ago. And I'm a traditionally trained marketer. So I went to university to study marketing and strategy. And then I went straight into brand management for Müller, which is one of the largest yogurt and dairy producers here in the UK. And I managed some of their biggest brands. And after that, I went into DIY and worked for Henkel on brands like Sellotape and Loctite. And nowadays, I am a marketing manager at Burton's. And I look after some of the UK's largest biscuits brands and most loved biscuits brands, including Jammy Dodger, Wagon Wheels, and some of our premium brands as well as our social media team and our e-commerce team. On the side, as a side hobby, I am also a TikTok creator. I am very passionate about marketing also outside of work. And so I'm, I think, the only product marketer actually on TikTok talking about product insights, product marketing, brand management, and also debunking some marketing myths that are out there. And so that's what I do in my free time, and I enjoy it very much.
Wonderful, Sonia. It's just so exciting to hear your stories, and I don't even know where to start because I think today we're going to have a great conversation. And I love the fact that you have this incredible hub outside work and that you have that vision of, educating business on marketing, but in a format that no one would ever thought that would be possible, right? 15 seconds, 45 seconds, 6 seconds of content, and you can really get great insights from your videos. But before I go to TikTok, let's talk a little bit, starting this conversation. I'm very fascinated about, everything that you do, but I wanted to kind of understand going back a little bit from the past year when the pandemic started, when we, which was like over a year ago now, right? So March 2020. So how you as a marketing manager for such, as you said, the most loved biscuits here in UK, so very well known brands that, especially English people, they know really well about those products. So how was last year for you, and how you use the power of social media and your expertise to transform the experience of your consumers and create new ideas of innovations to go through that year, which is still, we are not there yet, but you're getting there. But love to understand from your strategically point of view, how did you do it, and how you transform the way you communicate your products.
Yeah, it's super interesting actually. So, well, the first step was actually not as much from a campaign point of view, but the first step on that was actually bringing expertise into Burton's. So I actually joined Burton's at the very beginning of the pandemic. And at the time, we were working with a variety of different agencies, and I felt like we couldn't really get our voice across in the way that I wanted to and that the brands deserved. And so the first step actually was to build in-house capability. So I built a social media in-house team, including graphic designers, community managers, social media experts, and we basically built our own little agency inside Burton's that nowadays actually manages all of our campaigns. And that way we can really ensure that we speak with one voice, that we know the brands really well. We can connect insights from the brand teams to the social media and be really interactive with that and really responsive, which has been a blessing, and it has been like a huge advantage. In terms of our social media itself, even though the brands that I manage are really big and have great awareness in the UK, they're a little bit of an underdog when it comes to social media. They might not have the audience that some of our competitors would. And so the approach has been really like that of a challenger brand. How can we do things a little bit differently? How can we partner up with maybe larger platforms or larger partners to draw on their expertise and draw on their reach? And so a great example of that was when we relaunched Jammy Dodgers mid last year. We actually changed the recipe to be fully vegan, and that was a huge big news. And so what we actually did is we partnered up with a hugely powerful vegan community on Instagram, and we really tapped into that community. We used word of mouth with loads of influencers and different platforms to get the news out there. So even though our spend itself was actually quite small, our voice got amplified throughout the internet because all the vegan accounts basically picked up the news and spread the word. And that was majorly successful, and we got a lot of out that. But so that was, it's really all about being like a challenger brand and partnering with other partners that can amplify our voice. And the other bit has been all around influencer marketing, actually. How can we use influencers more and better, rather than just paying them a flat fee for one post? How can we build like true partnerships with them so that they want to promote us and that they become like true partners to the cause and to the brand? And so that has been a journey. We haven't always gotten it right, but I feel like that has been a major part of our success as well.
Wonderful. And I love the fact that you mentioned about the ingredient, right? So that you guys saw an opportunity of even not just changing the way you communicated and bringing your capability in house, but how to actually go in depth to your products and actually changing the ingredients. So the idea of the vegan ingredient element was because there was a demand from your consumers, or was something that the actual, the group like Burton's wanted to have an offer that could serve in the vegans? So what was the trigger there to make that decision?
It's a great question. And as with all good questions, the answer is usually both. So we used to be vegan, actually. We used to have a vegan recipe, but we changed it a while back. And I remember having that discussion with my CMO, and we always had, a lot of people remembered the vegan recipe, and they were like, why are you not vegan anymore? And we were like, that's such a great opportunity to, first of all, make us accessible to all, which is what our brand should be all about. We want to be accessible to all. And really, it wasn't really needed in our recipe. Like we knew we could make it work without. And then the second bit is that nowadays I feel all new product development should have an aspect of virality built into them. Because there's so many new product launches, there's so many new news at all times, that if you don't build virality into your product launches, it becomes very difficult to stand out. And so as soon as the idea was born, like, okay, we can go back vegan, we were immediately thinking about, how can we tap into the vegan community? How can we make it really worthwhile for them to get excited about this? Because we knew that it would automatically create buzz. So we were thinking about loads of different ways how we could just amplify that naturally. And so that was really the secret to that. And within like 3 months, we had over 60% of our consumers knew about the new recipe and knew about it. And we did a lot of communication around, we actually changed the pack design at the same time. So we would say like, oh, the old pack is not vegan and it looks like this. And the new pack is vegan and it looks like this. And so we had a lot of education going on at the same time to make sure. And so people basically went out hunting for the new packs and for the new pack designs. And so there was another sort of subtle education campaign wrapped into that, in terms of, actually paying attention to the design, because most consumers don't really care as much about the design, right? But we were like, if you see this on the design, it means it's vegan. If you don't see this, it means it's not vegan. So it was quite a nice way to also get a little bit of education in. So yeah, it was hugely successful for us.
Wonderful. And that community engagement that you had from that new product launch was organically, or it was a combination of organic but also partnership with vegan community? So how was this strategically behind, build that viral element, engaging with the vegan community, but that was a paid partnership, or it was a combination of both?
It was a combination of both. So we actually did it in 2 stages. The original one was mostly influencer marketing and working basically with key vegan influencers in the space to amplify the messaging. But then the second wave, we actually had a second wave in January, where we linked up with Veganuary. So with the organization that runs Veganuary, and we basically did a second peak in terms of communication with the Veganuary organization. And again, we did that through their accounts, as well as through their emails and through their events, as well as their influencers. So that's actually how we did it. It was both organically as well as paid.
Mm-hmm. I think the combination of exactly paid and organic was great, and I think using the vegan community is amazing, because the whole kind of content push probably felt very natural to the audience, as they're very passionate about this. And I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that influencer marketing was a big part of this, and just wanted to ask, as you build an in-house team within the brand, what were the biggest challenges when creating innovative strategies and implementing them?
With influencers specifically?
In social media in general, but yeah, with influencers specifically as well.
Yeah. So I think with influencers specifically, one of the things that I always see is that a lot of the relationships are very transactional. You get in touch with them and you're like, oh, please post this and we're going to pay you X. And then they post one thing. And then quite frankly, most of the time, those posts actually don't perform very well, because, they're done it's not that they're half-hearted, but it just doesn't feel quite as organic to their feed and to their audience. So the engagement is usually a lot lower. And so, all the great audience and all the analysis that you have done on selecting the influencers sort of falls apart, because the posts don't perform to the extent that you want them to perform. So it was really key for us to, first of all, find influencers that really matched with the brand purpose and that we're big fans of jamming Dodgers naturally, that had maybe eaten it in the past when it was still vegan and they were missing it, or their children were eating it. And then the second one was to really make sure that they had also an incentive to post something that will work well on their channels. And, there's different ways of doing that. You can incentivize with, once you hit a certain like number or a certain viewership number, we pay you extra, or you get extra benefits. So we tried a lot of these sort of mechanics, and we learned a lot from that approach. And, that has been subsequently really useful for our later campaigns as well.
It's interesting that, because for us as an agency, I think that you mentioned that sometimes the influencer can be seen as a very transactional, right? So I think the challenge of the industry is find the right influencer that fit your brand, right? That share the same values and the same purpose, because otherwise it will become a very, I'm paying you, I'm posting this, but the result is not going to be there. So I think more than ever within our industry of influencer marketing, it's so important to engage with talent that really has shared the values, but also has a passion for your product, for your brand, and see this as an opportunity of, okay, this is a paid partnership, but I loved so much this product that I can continue to be an organic ambassador to promote your product. And then when you have another collaboration, we do it again. So I think more than ever, we need to look at both and beyond the data, the numbers, because sometimes I think we feel very attached to what is the influencer engagement rate, what's the average impressions, what's the average views. Of course, it is important, right? But the sentiment analysis, the fit with the brand, I think more than ever, especially after 2020, where the average spend on social increased massively. So we are all much more savvy when it comes to consume on social, right? So we know how to pick, okay, this sounds really genuine, this sounds very authentic, no, this sounds very paid advertising. So I love the fact that you have structured that rationale as well behind your influencer marketing campaigns.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the other bit that is really important, I think that people need to realize, is that all influencers are content creators, but not all influencers are creative directors. And I'll explain what that means. And I see that now with TikTok, like in extreme. Not all influencers are as skilled in creating like advertisements for products than others and tell that story in a natural and organic way. And so rather than looking at like numbers, if you actually find an influencer that is really talented in storytelling, that can become so much more useful than having a large audience. If you can almost give them the freedom of being a creative director and getting your message across without having to write them a script, that is so invaluable as a brand owner. And so I feel even, there might be a huge influencer, but they won't maybe be able to create the content that you want. And so I feel there's a huge balance in that. And that's where agencies, I think, like you, come in to help with that.
Absolutely. And I love the point that you said that not every talent is the creative director, right? Because it's a huge difference. So I can be an influencer, but not necessarily I know how to create a quality and content, right? So it's, and I think quality today of content is so important as well, because you have to have the storytelling behind. Storytelling, I think, it's key for any content creation. But in order to create that storytelling, so more than ever, brands need to understand that, of course, we need to have a briefing, right? So the campaign has a strategy. So we have to have a briefing idea behind of what I want you to create it. But how can I get that briefing and let the creator, the influencer, to get and translate that in their own way that will resonate much more with their audience, rather than getting then a script and say you have to do like this because this is the strategy and this is the way I want you to create that content. We have an incredible story of a campaign we run last year for a baby product brand, one of our clients, that we had an influencer in the US that she was huge on TikTok, but she was not as huge on Instagram. And we are creating content on TikTok for this brand that was not really resonating well and getting a lot of engagement because the briefing was so like you have to follow through exactly what was in the briefing, show the right product, put the right layer of the text on top of the video of content on TikTok. And especially on TikTok, you have to have the freedom, right? And then I remember this influencer, she said to us, let me do my way. I promise you, if I do my way, it will be resonating much more with my audience, because her first video didn't perform really well. And then we were like, oh my God, we were expecting so much views from our video, because, when you look at her content and her videos, the engagement and the view was huge. And then when she did it for this specifically brand, didn't perform. And she said, I'm happy to do another one, but this time let's do my way. And then she did. And then she hit 3 million views in less than 24 hours. Versus 150 views from a video that was there for a week. So, and then it really proved the point, right? That when you let the influencer create it with the storytelling that they think that will resonate, is when we see the magic happening.
If you give them that freedom to, this is the briefing, this is what you need to mention, and then let them run with it, it creates magic.
Sonia, let's talk about the main challenge consumer brands face when they're trying to innovate it into their digital campaign strategy, because you itself is such an innovative professional, right? Because you have your own channel on TikTok, and as you said today for us, that you have restructured the whole capability of the company that you're working at the moment. So let's talk about challenge. So what are the main challenges for consumer brands to trying to innovate it into digital landscape?
That's a great question. I think especially food and drink, I'm talking specifically about food and drink here, but really for all fast moving consumer goods, I think it's really difficult because most of our products are sold through retailers. We don't sell direct to consumer. So if you're Gymshark, let's say, or if you're Adidas or Nike, you can put a direct call to action and you can measure sales through your social media. It becomes very measurable, it becomes very tangible. Whereas for us and for consumer good brands, it's really difficult because, we are stocked in, let's say, all major retailers. So if you have a video, if you have a piece of content, what do? You cannot link 17 retailers. If you link one, you favor one over the other. That becomes difficult. And so a lot of times when you work in consumer goods, it's very difficult to measure impact. And so you have to measure impact differently. And so you can measure impact by saying, oh, we went viral on TikTok and we gained 2,000 followers on Instagram. That could be the measurement of success. We had maybe a certain views, or you had certain hashtags, or you had certain participants in a competition. It becomes a little bit softer of a metric versus sales. And so that makes it difficult, especially if you work with larger agencies, to prove ROI. And so that's why I feel a lot of consumer brands are really struggling. The second challenge is that, quite frankly, consumer brands are not that exciting. A lot of them don't actually have that much personality. Again, Gymshark, Adidas, or, even beauty brands, they have a personality. They have faces to it. Whereas, I'm selling a biscuit, or I'm selling a tape, or I'm selling toothpaste. Do you want to follow toothpaste on Instagram? Do you want to follow toothpaste on TikTok? The value that you need to provide needs to be a lot higher than if it would be a gym brand or a shoe brand or a cosmetic brand or a fashion brand. And so And that is the challenge. How do you give a brand a personality that people are actually willing to, follow a biscuit for? And then once you've done all of that hard work, how do you actually measure success? And so those are the two hurdles that I'm constantly trying to overcome with different, campaigns and different executions. And it's hard. It's hard. A lot of brands are really struggling with it, especially, I know I'm talking a lot about TikTok, but I've actually done a lot of research on TikTok for brands. And I think a lot of brands are struggling. They're struggling so much. And it's because they're struggling with having a personality.
And how to build your personality for a brand on your perspectives? How you would build a personality?
Difficult, very difficult. There's no formula for success. But I think the two accounts who do it brilliantly are Ryanair. So if you're not following Ryanair on TikTok, you are missing out. And the second one is Innocent, as usual. You always say social media innocent, but I think Innocent has a major advantage because they have been building a personality over years and years and years. And so for them, TikTok was a natural extension. Ryanair did not have a personality until like 6 months ago. And now suddenly, they have built a personality of this face superimposed on the plane doing silly lip syncs. And people are loving it. Usually everybody hates on Ryanair. And nowadays people are like, this is the best account on social media. I mean, what a transformation, really. So it's really about being, I hate this word. I really, really do. But until I find a better one, I will keep using it. You do have to be like a wet cat. You have to be authentic to the bone. You have to be real. And the truth is also, not all brands are made for social media. Sometimes your brand is just not made for social media. And so then you have to accept that, and you have to maybe use social media as a customer service channel instead, rather than being, a laughing toothpaste or something. And that's it. And then you live with that and you find other channels to promote.
Speaking of that, when looking at, for example, channels like, TikTok, Instagram, and working with influencers, and then comparing it to other forms of like more traditional digital marketing like paid, PPC, SEO, what would you say the advantages of influencer marketing and social are against those more traditional forms of advertising?
So as someone who has an in-house team, I would say the number one advantage is well, first of all, reach most of the time. But second of all, also content. Because yes, I can put money against a dark post or against some ad, and then I can let that run. Again, people might not want to follow a biscuit or a toothpaste or whatever, but they will follow an influencer and they can get the same message across. At the end of the day, it's not about the numbers of likes or the numbers of followers. It's about the sales in store. So if my brand only has 1,000 followers on Instagram, but I'm selling very well because of an influencer post, then I will take that any day over having 1 million Instagram followers and not selling in stores. And so I think a lot of people are a little bit sometimes blinded by the easy metrics, by the Instagram followers, by the TikTok followers, by the whatever. But really, at the end of the day, all of that is completely irrelevant. What counts is sales. And any way you can get to sales should be the best way that you do it. And I feel at the moment, from a cost and ROI perspective, influencers are the way to go. Not even big influencers, in my opinion. I think it's micro influencers that are the way to go. But yeah, I think influencer marketing is hugely powerful, and it's definitely something that will continue to grow.
And as to your point about the numbers of followers, that doesn't really matter nowadays. It's so true. And TikTok proved that for us, right? Because when it comes to TikTok, you not necessarily need to work with a talent that, has 1 million followers, because the algorithm on TikTok function completely different from Instagram. And I think the beauty of TikTok is that, right? Because you can be a huge TikToker regardless of the numbers of followers that you have. on TikTok, and you are more expert on that. I really want to talk about your account and how you started. But before to say that, I feel like when we go out to work on TikTok with our brands, we have to educate clients, because they still think when we go and do a list of TikTok creators, they go, oh, but they only have 2,000 followers. Oh, but they only have 10,000 followers. And then it still needs to be an education on clients and say, okay, followers is not the metrics that's going to give us the ROI. So we are looking for great creators content, right? Creators that can create a video with a great storytelling behind, with the quality, with high production, and most important, the word that you don't like and I don't like as well, to be authentic and show that it's genuine, because this is the secret, right? And TikTok, it's amazing because you can work with small talent and get amazing results from them. So moving into your TikTok account now, which I am obsessed, guys. Whoever is listening us today, please find Sonia on TikTok. You're never going to regret that. So how it started and what was, why you had that idea was to complement the work that you're doing at Buttons. Tell me the story, because I am fascinated.
So, really, it was, as everything in marketing, it was about finding a pain point and solving it. And so my pain point was the second lockdown, the second round of pandemic. And I downloaded TikTok. Somebody told me, "Oh, you need to download TikTok." I was like, "Oh, it's for kids." But I downloaded it because, I had nothing else to do. And the algorithm at the beginning was really struggling to give me an FYP, For You page that give me anything interesting, to be honest. And so I was like, well, I'm interested in marketing, so let me look for marketing content. And I started interacting with marketing content, and I was searching for marketing content. And what I noticed was that basically all of it, 100%, was social media marketing. And that is a pet peeve of mine, because I meet a lot of students. I have always been very engaged in like student career development and marketing career development. And I know that everybody's always like, oh, I want to get into social media. Like marketing equals social media marketing. And that is hugely frustrating to me, because I feel like marketing has so many facets to offer, so many subcategories to offer, including product marketing, including brand management. And I wish I could get more people into those areas, more young blood. And so as I was watching all of this content, I was like, I can talk about what I do every day at work. And I remember I uploaded at the time, I had a new product launch in market. It was a tape, sellotape, the first ever compostable and biodegradable sellotape, a product that I'm hugely excited about, hugely proud of. And it's like my baby. And I was like, oh, like I want to talk about that. I just want to show how much work has gone into the development of this tape, because most people, don't really care about it. And I remember I uploaded that video and I had like 500,000 views.
Wow.
Like literally overnight. So I almost gained like 15,000 followers in the first 30 days. I remember just talking about sellotape, something that you would not be interested about in normal life. But people were like, oh my God, I can't believe that, so much work has gone into it. Like it's magnetized and it has like little ripples on the edge, so it's easy rip, and all the work that has gone into developing the glue, and all the work that has gone in developing the plastic. And I was just talking about that. I mean, nothing super exciting. And people got really excited about that and were like, oh, I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And especially what I saw was there's really two groups on my TikTok. One is students that want to get into marketing and that need to understand what are all the different types of marketing there are. Copywriting, PR, event marketing, all of that. And the second group of people is actually small business owners, because there's a lot of small business owners during lockdown that actually launched products, like physical products, t-shirts, shoes, candles, little dish holders, all of those are consumer goods basically. And a lot of them were focusing on like, oh, what is the color of my social media grid? And I was like, that is irrelevant. What you should be focusing on is your pricing strategy, your product strategy, your channel strategy, all of the things that I deal with on an everyday basis. And so a lot of the advice that I give on my channel is about that other side of marketing, the forgotten side of marketing. And I really enjoy what I'm doing. And then obviously as a side benefit, it's very beneficial for my day job because I also manage the social media team.
And you do TikTok content for the FMCG brands that you work with, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And then, so from your experience, you were able to learn, get insights to apply on your day-to-day job.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the projects actually that I've been recently working on is because I've seen a lot of fast-moving consumer good or consumer good brands struggling on TikTok, as I said earlier. And so I started looking into that and I started to analyze it, and I tried to understand why they weren't performing as maybe influencers are performing or even small businesses are performing. And I actually put together a training workshop, and I had I had some of the UK's largest agencies on it. I had Innocent Drinks attending my trainings, and I basically taught them I tried to explain to them the algorithm, how to build a content strategy, what are the different types of paid mechanics that they can use, how can you build viral challenges for consumers, what are the aspects that make something viral versus not viral, all of these sort of things, all of those toolkits that they're not really used to from the other channels, and trying to teach them the TikTok ways. And so that has been really interesting to watch and how they're applying that. And obviously some of the brands are hugely successful with that and doing really well, and I'm keeping my tabs on that.
And in terms of when looking at TikTok and your experience on both working on the brand side and then managing your own personal brand, if you were to give advice to a brand right now and you were to give them, like, let's say 3 top tips about, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot here, 3 top tips on what to focus on TikTok, what would that be?
Well, my number one tip would be to forget everything that you've learned on other social media channels. Facebook and Instagram, even Pinterest, it's all about being very polished, being very, very beautiful, very shiny, very advertising-esque. TikTok is the opposite of that. You need to be like a naked cat, as I said before. You need to let your walls down, and you need to let people see your flaws and things like that. Not all brands are suited to do that. Not all brands are willing to do that, and that is fine. But then you probably shouldn't be on TikTok. That is the reality of it, because the polished content doesn't work. So that's the number one advice. The second advice I would say is use influencers more than ever, and really create long-term relationships with people that are already using you. I think Starbucks especially has done a fantastic job. I mean, I did a video the other day and I did some research on it. Starbucks has 12 billion hashtag mentions. I mean, that is insane. That is, more than any TV campaign you could ever get. And how have they done that? Because they have virality built into their concept, virality built into their drinks. They haven't actually created an influencer drink like Dunkin' Donuts. They are just working with their baristas. There are some baristas that have millions of followers. They're working with people like Anna. So working with influencers is definitely the way to go. They don't need to be big, but they need to have a really strong following. And then the third one is around experimentation. It sort of links into number one, but the content that you need to put out on TikTok doesn't only need to be authentic, but it will most likely be slightly different, and you will be most likely targeting a slightly different audience to all your other channels. And so you need to be aware of that, and you need to probably tailor your approach a little bit more. You need to do trends. You need to do funky songs, funky voiceovers that you might not usually would do on your normal channels, and that is okay. And so those would be probably the 3 things that I would advise for brands. It's a tough space, and it requires balls. As a manager, as a marketing manager, as a social media manager, it requires you to really put your skin in the game and prepare to fail, expect to fail, and you will most likely succeed.
Love that. And then I know that's, I think, the education that all the brands need to have on TikTok, because there is that fine line that you said that's so true, that you cannot go on TikTok and expect that you're going to be creating the polished content that you created on another platform, because TikTok was not created for that, right? The whole objective of the platform is the opposite. It just go there, create your content, of course authentic, but just be who you are. You don't need big production in there. It's all about having fun in the platform, and not be afraid of showing your personality, your character, and tell the story that you wanted to tell, which is the opposite of other platforms. And with the hashtag challenge, is something that we always discuss with our clients when they wanted to do a hashtag challenge, which is a huge investment, right, to do so. However, we always prepare our clients not just about the investment on that and how they're going to get the ROI, but we have to educate them on expecting to have UGC that we don't have the control of, right? So I cannot put a challenge out there and expecting that every UGC content I will see on the platform will be telling the story of the brand exactly as the brand wish. We don't have control. So if you wanted to go for hashtag challenge, expect it to have UGC content that you might not gonna be super happy about it. But this is the fun part about doing a hashtag challenge. Each individual can interpret the way they want it, right?
Absolutely. And I can speak from my own experience. So again, I did a lot of analysis when I was putting this workshop together. One of the great examples of hashtag challenges, and someone who's really nailed it down really well, is Chipotle. So if you're looking for hashtag challenge examples, Chipotle has done 2 or 3 hugely viral hashtag challenges. And some of them were not even backed by TikTok, the official through the paid aspect. It was just a viral thing that came through. And and while I was analyzing that, I noticed that there were a couple of things that sort of defined how to create like viral content and viral challenges. And I would actually love to hear your opinion on this, because those were like the 6 things that I thought were really relevant. And I would love to actually get your opinion on this, because I have done a hashtag challenge on some of my brands, and actually it didn't quite work because we didn't get it quite right. And so it's very, very hard to get right, but when you get it right, it pays off. So the 6 things that I always think are super important when it comes to challenges is that it's really easily replicated. Like there needs to be a simplicity to it where people see it as, oh yeah, I can totally try this and I could probably get it right. But there also needs to be like an uncertain outcome, because a lot of those challenges, the really viral videos are when it doesn't work, or when the maybe the dance is not quite perfect, or there's maybe a certain twist to it. There needs to be definitely creative flexibility for the creators that you work with if you want to amplify it. It needs to be really fun. Obviously, TikTok is all about being very fun. It needs to absolutely have a catchy song attached to it. If you would have all 5, if you hit all 5 of these aspects, but you don't have catchy music, it fails. Like TikTok is a music platform. And there needs to be some sort of incentive for viewers to actually enter the challenge. And that could be something really stupid. It could be like a lifetime or like a 1-year supply of Chipotle. I think it was for Chipotle. It could be some biscuits. It could be fame. It could be, being named the #1 super fan. But there needs to be something to go after. And so I feel that is like the formula that a lot of the really successful challenges have been following. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Totally agree. And then to be completely honest with you, we have done one challenge a few years ago, which was our first hashtag challenge with one of our clients, and it was a disaster because we didn't get that formula that you just said now, because it was our first time, and then hashtag challenge was such a new trained at the moment 2 years ago when everyone was like, oh my God, hashtag challenge. You can have 12 billion views if you do a challenge. But how to do the challenge and the secret formula of creating a challenge that's super easy to replicate, it's super important. If you wanted to have a filter, making sure they're going to do a filter of a challenge that is a filter that you not necessarily have to have the filter at certain second or of the video. There's a filter that it's there for the time you wanted to apply the filter, because this filter can be as good but can be a disaster as well if you don't play your filter in a way that talents can have the freedom to use the filter when they want within their content. And the music, for sure, like making sure you have the music, it's key. Challenge on TikTok without a song, it's not a challenge. You don't necessarily need to have a dance, right? So you can create any type of challenge, but the music is such an important element into it. And another education I think is super important on TikTok, super cute, the cat, lovely, is you can have a challenge on TikTok without necessarily doing an official hashtag challenge, right? So I think brands are very attached to, I can only run a challenge if I pay for a challenge. No, you can do a challenge without having to pay for a challenge.
Another important thing to note here, and this is from the learnings from running a challenge that did not perform as well in terms of user-generated content, is understanding that usually people who create TikToks should only themselves. They can't involve other people within the content, so they can't involve a group of people when creating the content. So that's really important when creating a challenge, to make it accessible to a person that's only going to shoot it themselves.
That's a great point. And I wonder if that will maybe become easier once we come out of lockdown, because one of the things I've noticed is I'm seeing more and more TikToks being created outside, which you didn't see before. You know, you would always sit in front of a white wall or with a ring light. You can't do that, like, we know, when you're outside. I mean, I'm embarrassed to record anything outside, at least for myself. And so I think, with us coming out of the pandemic, I wonder if that will actually change.
I don't think it's going to change, because before the pandemic, 1 month before, I went to New York for a few business meetings there. And I remember seeing on Central Park a lot of like the Gen Zers on the park recording TikTok. And I remember I was like, oh my God, I was fascinated, because there was all those kids out there on Central Park. And every time I was walking around, I could see they're recording videos on TikTok, and it was pre-pandemic. So I think it won't change. So I think it's that's my feeling. So let's see.
No, but I think it's a really, really good point. It's a really good point.
So Anna, we could stay here forever talking, because you're incredible, and then it's been incredible getting all the insights from you and from your experience working with FMCG brands, and also like your experience on TikTok and how you're combined your personal experience to a professional experience. So your career is lovely. Again, I am a big fan of your TikTok account. And again, I will tell our listeners to not miss that out, so you can learn a lot about marketing. She's super fun, super authentic. Everything that she said here that we have to do on TikTok is what she's doing on her own account. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Hopefully to be able to meet you in person soon when this is all over. And once again, what a pleasure to meet with you and have you on our podcast.
Thank you so much, Mara. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll see each other very soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alex, for being here with me today, again, hosting this podcast.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our listeners and to our amazing guests once again.
Amazing. So thank you again, everyone who has tuned in to listening to one more episode of our Influencer Marketing Uncovered podcast. Hope you have enjoyed our conversation with the lovely Sonia, and looking forward to see you on our next episode. Please follow us on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Play. Every 2 weeks we have a new episode, and you cannot miss. Our guests are global. We are bringing every single time a client from different place of the world, bringing us insights and a lot of tips on how to navigate it into the incredible industry of influencer marketing. Thank you so much, and I see you soon.